Welcome to the E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Founded in 2013, the EHL is your next step on the path to college. Over the past decade, the EHL has established itself as the college placement leader on the East Coast. And now, here's your host, the commissioner of the Eastern Hockey League, Neil Ravin.
Thanks, Jim. And with that, let's bring in this week's E-Crew. Just me and you again, Jeff, but another guest that will make us feel old once again because he's now a senior at Assumption University. Welcome to the podcast, Thomas McLarnon.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
Growing up right before our very eyes, Thomas McLarnon, my favorite backup goaltender ever in the EHL. We're going to dive into that too right now.
It's a great way to start because when you go back to your EHL, your time with the Little Flyers, you were there with Brendan Brawley. And he got, we can say it, he got the majority of the starts, but when you got the chance to play, you took care of business almost every single time, is what it felt like, right? What was the experience like overall for you?
Oh, well, I mean, playing with Brawley was like one of the best experiences and like learning experiences that I've had in my career. And that team that we had that year was just incredible. I mean, but getting to learn from playing with Brawley and practicing with him every day was just something that I really thought was special, and I used it to my advantage. I think just to learn as much as I could from him. And the goaltending in the EHL like that I experienced was really like solid. So I mean, it was a great learning experience, and I got to take a lot from him. And so I actually thought that it wasn't a bad thing that I was like kind of second to him, but I actually thought that it was something I can use to my advantage and learn from. And that's what I took me to college, because it wasn't until this year where I started to get a lot of time in college. And so, taking what I learned from him and the other goalies that I was behind in college, like I think that's a very, very important thing, not like pouting that you're not, the guy all the time. Like that's something I had to learn, and
spoken like a true veteran. You hear that, kids? You hear that?
Yes.
Don't pout. Take it and run with it. And you did.
Exactly.
You were, I mean, like I said, that was
the 18-19 season.
18-19, yeah. You guys were 43-1, and you were 16-0. And
Yeah,
1.52 goals against. Like your numbers were just stupid. Me and Neil and Brittany used to talk about it all the time. That was in like the infancy podcast, right before the podcast years. So, but yeah, we used to talk about you all the time. Like, how did you stay so sharp? I mean, when you do the math, you got into a little less than half the games. But still, how did you go 16-0 in a season?
I got to give a lot of credit to the team that I had in front of me, but
It's a bit of a wagon, huh?
yeah, a little bit of a wagon, but actually it was a great year for me, and it honestly prepared me a lot for the year that we're having right now at Assumption. It just taught me how to play with confidence in, my team, and just confidence in general, because, this year we're at Assumption, we're kind of on a bit of a tear too. And, it's not easy to have those expectations and to honestly expect to win every game, but that's something that I learned that season, just how to deal with that and how to stay relaxed, even when you're not getting, the most time, and you might have a long break in between, one game and another, but you just got to learn how to stay focused and stay ready all the time. And, that season really prepared me for that. So very thankful for that.
Having Brawley in front of you, who of course won the Goalie of the Year award that season, and Jeff mentions the team's record and mentions your record. Did you almost feel like pressure that when it was your time to go in there, like, man, I cannot lose a game for this team right now?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. But you can't really think about especially as a goalie, I think you can get caught up in thinking about wins and losses a little too much. But you just stick to the basics, like compete every single minute that you're out there and give it your all, and then the results are gonna follow. And that's something that I learned just from watching Brawley in practice. I mean, he would just be working so hard all the time, and it really forced me to bring that to my game, whether it was a practice or a game or whether I was backing up, honestly, in warm-ups. Like, you just got to always be going 100%. So
sure. The next year, 1920 wasn't as blemish free, right? But you still ended your junior career with 38 wins. Then you get to Assumption 2020-21 season, the COVID year. So you didn't
yeah.
get that chance to play that year. When did it finally, for you, feel like you were playing college hockey? Was there like a specific moment?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, even that COVID year, like the first practice or captain's practices are what the only things we were allowed to do. And honestly, I mean, that was a rough year because we would practice or have a captain's practice, and then the COVID rate at our school would reach a certain point, and then we'd have to take like a week and a half off or something until we were able to practice again. So that was tough. I mean, but you realize, like, in the first captain's practice, just like how much faster and stronger everybody is, and that was like a real awakening moment, like the first practice. But and also just you just have to be going 100% all the time. Like, even at our captain's practices, there's no coaches there or anything, so but everybody's just pushing each other. And that's kind of how I felt like it was at the EHL too. But um it's just like anytime you move up a level, you just have to learn how to sharpen up and honest, like, put in more effort every time. So
Mhm. Makes sense.
And Thomas, can you talk about the goalie room you guys have right now at Assumption? We've been talking to all these guys like yourself that are in leadership spots now that you're a senior, and you actually have a former EHLer, Cal Welch, in
yeah,
your locker room as far as goaltenders. And then I'm really gonna butcher this name. I'm gonna try it though. Clement Labillois. Is that how you say his last name?
Labiliwa.
Labillois?
Yeah,
Okay,
Okay.
there we go.
so very
Close
close.
enough, right? So
Yeah.
how is it mentoring those two freshmen, and then you got Michael Hosworth, the junior goalie. So you two are the upperclassmen, and then you got two young guys. Tell us a little bit about the dynamic there.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, I try to be just like the way that Brawley was to me. Like, giving it 110% every day in practice, even if you played both games that weekend, and then you're back on Monday at 6:30 a.m., which is when we usually practice
Ooh,
at Assumption. But
grinding.
yeah, no, it's not always easy, but I think that's one of the reasons why our team here is so successful, is because we grind and we get up every day and go to work. But yeah, it's just something. I actually share a net with Cal at practice every day, and
Awesome.
he's such a hard worker, and he's always pushing me, and I got to make sure that I'm always pushing him no matter what. So, and that's something I learned from Brawley. Like, Brawley would go play a weekend and you know get like a shutout and then one goal against the next day, and then at practice he would just be lights out. And that's something that pushed me to keep working on my game and to keep working harder. So that's something I try to bring uh to the role that I'm at now here at Assumption. Just and they do a great job. Like, all the goalies that we have here are incredible, and they're always working so hard. So yeah.
And yeah, to go off of that, you've been named Northeast 10 goalie of the week 4 times. And obviously, you are the starter for Assumption now, but all 4 guys have got the chance to start also. And you mentioned how you're kind of in the Brawley role now. When somebody else gets, the nod in net, what reaction do you try and give as a teammate to that player?
Oh, you just got to be completely 100% supportive. And that's I do want to see them succeed every time. Like it's our team. So,
Yep.
you know, yeah, you just gotta, especially if it's their first time, like you're gonna want to talk to them before at some point and just give them a few pointers and tell them to just relax and play their game and that they're meant to be there because they are. So just being a good teammate, I think is number one because I know Brawley was, and I know he didn't want me to lose a game that year, like at all, and he wanted the best for me. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's something I try to carry with me now.
Love it.
And Thomas, you've talked a lot about Brendan Brawley, but circling back to your EHL time, who else would you say was a big helpful resource with the Philadelphia Little Flyers, and just kind of talk about the Philadelphia Little Flyers experience as a whole too, with Coach Catron and Anthony LaRusso, Alo, one of our other favorites. Just talk a little bit about the Philadelphia Little Flyers for people that may not know about them.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have been like happier with where I ended up for my junior career. I actually like my first AAA season was when I was a mite with the Little Flyers, and I used to stick around and watch. At the time it was the Atlantic Junior
Mhm.
Hockey League,
Yeah. Yep.
and I'd watch the junior team there. And I always like really wanted to be there one day. So it was really cool when I came back to be playing for the Little Flyers. And I can't say enough about the organization, Catron and ALO. At the time we had Mike Narrigan as a goalie coach, and then our
Yep.
assistant Billy.
Yep.
But it was just like a family there, and they were really supportive, and they were great to us. I mean, they would always Narrigan was a great help for me and Brawley. And Catron was one of the best coaches I've ever had. He really knows his stuff. So I can't say enough about the coaching staff and the organization. I mean, our practice schedule was incredible. Like we would get the ice for basically 2 hours a day to work on our own stuff, like a half hour after practice. So it was great.
One thing that I noticed about all of our coaches, they all have their own unique personality, including Coach Catron.
Yeah.
Is there a story, like a funny
Oh,
moment
yes.
that you guys always reflect back on with him?
Has
Man,
has to
If
be.
you can narrow one down.
that's I
As long
don't
as
know.
it's family friendly, Thomas.
Yeah. Um, oh man. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I can think of like a specific story or not, but yeah, I don't
No, it's all good. I mean, they're all characters, right? I didn't know if there was like
Yeah.
one locker room speech that forever stands out in your mind or something like that.
not that I can think of. I mean, he was very like just because we had I feel like we tried to go into the game with the same mindset. So I don't really think he gave any crazy speeches or anything. It was kind of the same thing. He was always very relaxed before games too, which I
Yep,
really
yep,
enjoy that as a goalie. Like
for
just
sure,
a coach that can be relaxed all the time, and that kind of relaxed me, and I feel like it relaxed the rest of our players. So
for sure,
but he was always still on us, of course, and he wanted us to be giving it 110% every day. So
for sure.
yeah, but
And then take us back through how did you find Assumption and what led you to make the decision to go to Assumption University?
yeah, so I actually sent an email to them like at some point in the season, and then they called a game at a showcase at the Seacoast Spartans rink, I
Hmm.
believe it was. Yeah. And then I went on a visit after that and just absolutely fell in love with the atmosphere here. And then, it's the same thing. It's very similar to Little Flyers. Like, everybody's a family here. The coaches are really invested. All of our coaches are actually alumni of the team themselves,
Yep.
which I think is huge. I mean, they put so much time and effort and they try to work around their other full-time jobs to get to our 6:30 a.m. practices. And like that's just incredible to me. Like the love that they have for the program really transfers to the players, and you have so much respect for everybody and on the coaching staff. And I think that's huge here.
For sure. And you guys play out of the Northeast 10, which is technically a Division II conference. And I know that's kind of a huge thing that, or a battle that those schools have to fight when recruiting junior hockey players, Division II versus Division III. How can you best, define for the prospective current junior hockey player who's looking at different schools that Division II is basically the same thing as Division III? How can you explain that to them?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, well, first of all, we get to play the new D1 teams when they're coming up, which is really cool.
Stonehill.
Yeah,
in February.
I got to play against Long Island last year, which was like just such a cool experience. And you get to have experiences like that. We got Stonehill this year. And also, we really do get to play a lot of the top D3 teams. Like I hear rumors about like Oswego like reaching out to us to play us next year because of the year that we're having. And we were able to beat like a really good Anna Maria team twice this year. And so, I mean, we still get to compete with the top D3 teams, I believe. And yeah, I mean, I think it's the same. It stinks that we can't go to nationals, but I think that, and we speak as a team, we speak together, and our goal is to someday be able to get to the national tournament. Because I think we belong there as much as any other division. So
sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And the practice schedule and everything, like it's all the same. Actually, I think we might have like a couple more hours a week allotted towards, I could be wrong about that, but I mean, we still get trainers, we still get lifts every week, and you're still always just getting better. So
yeah. And you still get the chance to play for a Northeast 10 title here down the stretch. We'll wrap it up with that. I mean, you're 17-4. You mentioned that. It's basically all conference games for the most part the rest of the way, outside of that Stonehill game and a couple others. How's the team going to keep their foot in the gas here so that you can be the number one seed and have the road to the NE10 finals, everything go through the Worcester Ice Center? How you going to keep that gas bill down?
Okay, yeah. I mean, we definitely have a lot of pressure on us right now, but that's exactly what's gonna keep us pushing here, I think, and at full speed. I mean, we have the opportunity here to set a winning record for the win record for Assumption hockey this year. I think it's at 20 right now. So that's a goal for us, is to break records this year, just like we did when we were at the Little Flyers that 19 and 20 year.
So how it's done, Thomas. You know how it's done.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And yeah, we are really looking forward to playing Stonehill. I mean, they're gonna be they're struggling a little bit this year and at Division One, but they're Division One guys, and it's gonna be a tough game. But I think that's a great motivating factor. We want to get a win in that game too. So
yeah. Well,
6 out of your final 9 games are at home, so go to the WIC and check out Thomas McLarnon and Assumption.
And then hopefully more in the playoffs too, right?
Yeah.
And hopefully you guys can get those 4 wins, and selfishly for us, you're in net for all 4 of them, all right?
Sorry, Callum. You'll get your chance. You're a freshman.
He's a freshman. He's a freshman, right? But we appreciate you coming on. A great story for those players in our league right now to see how a role can change when you get to juniors and then when you get to college also. So keep up the good work, and we'll be following along down the stretch.
All right. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Thomas. Good seeing you, man.
Good to see you too.
Thanks again to Thomas McLarnon for coming on the podcast this week. He made a great point at the end there too, Jeff. the Division 2 versus Division 3 thing is like ongoing for players to think about and college coaches to recruit, but it really is like not much of a difference. And you look at Assumption has played for Division 3 schools this year. They've played Nichols and won. They've played Anna Maria and won. Anna Maria again and won. Westfield State, they lost that game, but they beat Fitchburg State, lost overtime to Johnson and Wales, beat Wentworth. Like they play Division 3 schools, and what makes it like for players at home that are not even in the league yet, but are in our league too, like if you really think that choosing a Division 3 school so that you can play in the national tournament is the deciding factor to you, then so be it. But know that there are 10 Division 3 conferences, right? Yeah. And it's going up to 13 teams make the national tournament, right? So we don't do math in the podcast, Jeff, but this is easy freaking math, okay? 10 conference champions make it, and 3 at-large make it, right? So choosing Division 3 over Division 2 with the hopes of making the national tournament is basically just choosing if you win your conference, right?
I was say, because how many Division 3 teams do we have now?
There's
I want to say
no, it's 80. It's high 80s, 60... but high 80s. Then you get into the 90s and you add these 6 NE10 schools in, right? But if you're playing for a conference title, basically, then just go play for it at Assumption in the NE10. It's the same.
You can do the same thing.
It's the same thing. You just can't play for the national tournament, right? Like which
the
I
odds
get.
Of you, like we all get it, right? Because like we talk about the same thing with Division 1 all the time. There's 64 Division 1 teams now.
Yeah.
And we always say that's always been since as long as we've been working together and been friends. There's plenty of D3 guys that could play D1. There's not enough spots. What are we talking about here, Neil? We're talking about there's just not enough spots for you to go to the national championship. With D3, D2, you have that chance to do the same thing as you just said. You can win your conference in D2, and you can win your conference in D3. And like Thomas is saying, there's still some things on the move as far as D2 becoming a part of that eventually someday. Above all of our pay grades, but
yes,
I wouldn't doubt that would happen at some point.
But we didn't even get to talk about this because we're too busy talking about his great story. He's going back for a 5th year at Assumption for accounting, right? So forget the hockey for a second, which we all love, but like eventually hockey does end. And for Thomas, he's going to get a degree and get a job, right? He's doing a 5th year.
Very well paying one, probably.
He's doing his 5th year so he can get his CPA, right? So just there's so many factors to think about when choosing schools, of course. But I'll get off my soapbox now, and we'll jump into Around the East Show.
Let's take a look at what's going on around the East Show.
Around the East Show is presented by BioSteel, the sports drink of the EHL. Use the promo code EHLB1, that's EHLB1, for 25% off when you check out at biosteel.com.
And this week, Jeff, I think it's easy for us to start in the East Division. How about that?
The East. The Beastly. Let's go.
The Beast of the East. I mean, the Boston Junior Terriers, we've used this kind of like phrase in the past in different contexts, but the Boston Junior Terriers are the best 4th place team ever. Like ever.
Right. Tie with this year's EHLP Walpole Express and Valley Junior Warriors. Because we've talked about that too with the Rangers Railers at the top.
In the EHLP. Like it's just like
EHLP, yes.
Yeah. Like they have 37 points. Coming off a big win yesterday against the Boston Junior Rangers. I mean,
4-2.
Yeah, the Wizards right now are in first place in that division. The key thing to look at is the Express have played the fewest games, so they have 3 games in hand. I mean, it doesn't feel like 1 through 4 there, and I don't want to get ahead of 5 and 6. I mean, the 5th place team, the Seahawks, they may have the best goalie in the league. And Isaac Sauzauji, right? Like yeah. I mean, like in that division, it's not even like we haven't even come to a situation where, Team A owns Team B, so they want that matchup. They've all beat each other up the entire year, and they're still where they're at.
Right. Yeah, as you said, I mean, credit to the Terriers too to bounce back, right? You lose 1-0 to the Seahawks. and you lose 4-3 to a Bandits team that, odds 10 times, if you play them 10 times, you're probably going to beat them 8 or 9 times out of 10. And then you get the Rangers. So that could have been a really tough skid for them to start skidding into. But you right the ship, you beat them at home 4-2. And yeah, Neil, I mean, we had started talking about it. I think it was, I want to say, I'm losing track of all the weeks now, as we're almost 2 months away from Frozen Finals here, people. That's absolute insanity. But we talked about it, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, about how don't forget about the Boston Junior Terriers. Don't sleep on them. They were slowly creeping up the standings, and now they're not slowly creeping up there. They're right there. They're 7 points behind the Rangers and Express for third and second. And then they are 11 points out of first with the Wizards. The Wizards are starting to peel away a little bit from them, but yeah. And then the Seahawks, and like we said, Seahawks and Bandits are playing people tough. So that East Division has been pretty beastly so far. And
Beast of the East.
The Beast of the East, baby.
And then we'll go south, right?
This place is weird. This is a weird place to live. I wish we had Anthony on this week to give us the real pulse down south, but yeah, what is going on down there? People are streaking right way, people are streaking the wrong way. Little Flyers have ripped off 5 in a row. Maryland's taken points in 3 of the last 4. And yeah, I mean, the 87s look like they might even slip all of a sudden. They could possibly slip to 4th place.
Yeah.
They've been either in 1st or 2nd pretty much all year long. And now here come the Little Flyers, Maryland, everybody's right there. Even Philadelphia Hockey and PA Huntsman, who haven't been playing the best hockey that they've wanted to play.
But they've won 2 straight, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're right. It feels like every time someone starts to go in one direction in this division, they flip it around and go in the other direction, right?
Right.
So if you were to tell me that the Bears, 87s, and PHC all go on winning streaks now, and the teams that are all on winning streaks all go on losing streaks, it wouldn't surprise me, right? That's the pattern that we've been on.
That's how it's been all year. Yeah.
Now, here's an incredible hypothetical, right? The Bears and the Little Flyers each have 13 games left. 87's 14, Maryland 12, Huntsman, PHC 11. Is there a way that they could all be tied by the time that we get to the March showcase?
Can you tell us what happens, Commissioner Rabbit, if that does?
The first tiebreaker is head-to-head points, right? Okay. So essentially at that point, I'd have to just wipe out anything that those guys did in showcases against non-South Division opponents, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there's a number of regular season matchups with the Apple Corps and the Rough Riders in there because those are the 2 closest teams, right?
And the Apple Corps beat the 87s twice. Just beat them again yesterday, 5-0. Combined 8-0 against New Jersey. We were talking about that.
We're gonna get to that, right? And truth be told, there's probably not a realistic possibility that all 6 teams are
probably
tied
not
by March. Yeah, but a great EHL sportsbook over under would be to set it at 2.5, right? Over under 2.5 teams tied entering that weekend. I think you hit the over. You could.
Do you hit the over?
Because the over is 3, the under is 2, right? Like, and you look at it right now. Yes,
there's 6 teams there.
The Bears are probably the team that's going. Struggling the most right now. I think we've talked about that, right? But they still have a 5-point lead on the 87s, right? And 87.
I mean, this is like a 2-month struggle for New Jersey, and they stays back to December, and
yeah. So, but they're still in first place, the 5-point gap.
Still, yeah,
2.5 point gap or 2.5 game.
So at one point in time, they had. I mean, credit to them. Like we said, they lost 2 out of their first 21 games.
Yeah,
they built
it's insane
double-digit lead that was massive that nobody thought would ever shrink, and here we are. So I play the games, folks.
And I will say this too: the 87s do have the fewest games played, right? So if you look below that, there is a possibility that we could get those 4 teams tied. There is. Now it helps the Little Flyers that they have 2 games in hand on both the Huntsman and PHC, and then Maryland has 1 game. But man, like the more and more they beat up on each other, like. We're trending in that direction, and I'm setting that over under mark because I think it would be kind of entertaining to get everyone's prediction. We'll take everyone's prediction.
Roll back on that during the showcase week.
Yes, exactly. Like we'll take everyone's prediction next week, maybe. For February 1st, 1 month out, right? So, but Jeff, you just kind of teased us a second ago. The Apple Core, I mean,
red hot.
like you think back to the trade, and I still think the trade has worked out well for both sides between the Chiefs and the Apple Core, but it obviously looks like it's worked out a little bit better for the Apple Core in getting Ryan Crouchaw. I mean, they've won 12 straight games.
And he's 10-0.
Like, and you just mentioned the past 2 games against the 87s, who have been to the Frozen Finals twice, have won it once. I mean, there's your next DraftKings Sportsbook lock. I mean, has Lenny locked up has Lenny locked up Coach of the Year? I mean, this is incredible what he's done.
He kind of has to, right? I mean,
this isn't like they had a better year this year. They have the second best record in the league.
Right. Next to
the Railers. They would be division, in first place in every other division.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about it too, right? We've had text message conversations, phone conversations. The Apple Core have not been good for a long time. And Lenny Caglione has gone in there. Is this his second year or third year?
Second year.
Second year, right?
Second year.
Yeah. So for him to go to just do a total 180 there and just totally flip the script from being not a great team, if we're just being honest, they've just not been a great team in their last 10 plus years. And for him to just put them on his back and build the way he has, I mean, Jake talked to the Bankovitz brothers. They were glowing about Lenny and the rest of the team in the locker room. And then for him to be able to push the right buttons too, right? Because that's always a dangerous button to push when you're a coach and a GM like he is, of moving guys in, moving guys out. We both know hockey's one of those sports that the dynamic in the locker room is a very fragile, in a good way or bad way. You can do really good things by building it. You can also do really bad things by sending guys out and sending a weird vibe to certain guys. But yeah, Lenny would get my vote for Coach of the Year without a doubt.
Mine too. I mean,
unreal.
And that's not to discredit, in the divisions that we talked about so far. Nick Coda's done a great job with the Express this season.
There's definitely Corey Felitti with the Wizards.
Cody Gagnon in his first season's done a great job. Eric Projan in his first season's done a great job. The list goes on and on.
Chris Sorrello, Rich DiCaprio, you guys have been there. Gotta say their names. They're doing great jobs.
Of course.
You always do great jobs.
But it's just like it's just what the Apple Core are doing. Like it's gone past the point of like, oh, they've won a few games. Let's see what happens. They've won 12 straight games, man.
Yeah. They're 24-8-1. They have single-digit regulation losses still. At this point in the year, if you're doing that, you're doing something right.
And now it's getting to the point where if you're the Railers, you're probably looking behind you a little bit and thinking like, we don't have that much room to slip up here down the stretch. Right? Like
they're also now our highest scoring team in the league, Neil, with 141 goals, just above the Avs.
Wow.
Also one of our best differentials, plus 57. So I mean, that's the crazy thing too, right? They get to the playoffs. You got a goalie like Crouchaw. You give Crouchaw 2 goals. That's about all he needs. His goals against with the Apple Core is 141. You get him 2, you're done. They're averaging. I'd have to do the math, and we don't want to do that on the air. But what are they averaging? Almost 4 goals a game.
Yeah.
It's a heck of a winning formula. Score 4, give up 2, 4-2 every night.
And speaking of future bets, Ryan Crouchaw, goalie of the year.
Oh,
he's making a case.
Yeah. I mean, it was Carson Fry, I think, early in the year.
Yep.
Charles Watson, Cam Reardon's got to be on that list too. All sorts of good candidates. But yeah, I mean, if he continues this spotless record, even I mean, how many losses do you think he really is going to get with 11 games to go? Even if he loses 1 or 2, say 3 at most.
Dude, if they enter the postseason having won 23 straight games and he's won 21 of them, I mean, that would be that would be tough to deny. We'll say that, right?
Do we think that they could win the Central, Neil? Let me put you on the spot for a sec. They're 3 points behind the Railers. They lost the head-to-head battle, right? They have played one more game, the Apple Core have, than the Railers. we keep saying this is the Railers division. Do we think New York can win it?
Well, and know that like what we're talking about right now is just win like the first seed, right?
Yeah, right.
We'll talk playoffs when we get to playoffs, right? Because you never know, there could be an injury or something that happens on the stretch that dictates one way over the other. But looking
We're
at
just saying the 1 seed,
the 1 seed, right? Looking at the remaining schedules, right? If you were to go pull up the Railers schedule first, right, and you see this Saturday against the Express, right? You see Friday, February 2nd against the Wolves, the 4th against the Avalanche, the February 20th against the Rangers, 22nd against the Terriers, March 3rd against the Railers, March 4th against the Avalanche. If you look at just the Railers schedule, you're like, wow, they have a number of tough games still in there. For the Apple Core,
for the Apple Core,
they themselves,
Wizards, Rangers,
they
Wolves,
have a Team Maryland. They have an 87th, who I know back-to-back shutouts, but at some point, you piss somebody off enough that they respond, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Especially Adam Hooley, another good coach that knows what he's doing.
Yeah. They have the Wizards. They have the Rangers. And I think in all of this, after last year, for the first time, having 2 best-of-3 series at the finals, especially the coaches that made it, know, like, you have to keep your foot down. Because that's going to dictate a lot of things if you can make it to the finals. Now, all 4 teams will be good once they get there, but if there's a little bit of a difference between, being the 1 and being the 2 there because you get the 3 versus the 4, like there's value in that. There's some 100%. Value in that. Because honestly, once you get there, you want the best matchup for yourself in those semifinals so that you can win. And then all bets are off in a championship game, right? You can play a championship game 100 times and it could go 50-50 each time, right? So it's going to be, that could be, I mean, I know that the rest of the division is fighting, for 3, 4, 5, 6. And some other divisions have kind of a bigger battle at the top. But that 2-horse race for the division title and potentially, the regular season title, we can talk about that too. That could be really entertaining here down the stretch. And I know as
4 teams fighting for that, right?
Yes.
Kind of the Wizards, Avs, Railers, Apple Core right now.
Yes, and I know as I say that, I hear the Wizards and the Avs, saying something also. The Wizards, I will say though, they are in a division where they have the Express, Rangers, and Terriers right behind them. So it's not going to be as easy. And the Avalanche are at 1 point behind the Apple Core with 2 games in hand and 7 games, a 7-game winning streak, right? Like it feels like we're at where we're at every single January with this team. Is that an accurate statement?
Oh, get your violin out, play it. The Avalanche are good. Have you heard this before? Chris, your team is good. 23-6-2. Oh, we got a nice plus 64 differential. We're starting to pound teams every night. Riddle me this. Have you heard that before? Yes, we have. We have, Chris. Your team is good. Your team is very good.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Avalanche can we have a Frozen Finals without them? They get FOMO. They get serious FOMO. They're like, you can't have one unless we're there.
Yeah.
But
it's amazing.
I'm just really interested to see how the playoffs will go because we all keep saying this, right? With our eCrew chats and texts and stuff, is something just feels like there's going to be, like, it's been such a tight year. I know we've been saying parity for all the years, but each year it just keeps getting better and better and better. And this year just feels like we either need something new or something new is going to burst into the scene.
It could.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. As good as these teams are, like, is it some of these secondary teams we're talking about? Secondary meaning you're not in first place.
Yes.
That could surprise us and knock off one of these big dogs that we're talking about. But
yeah, for sure. But not to rush too fast through the EHLP, but I have to get to some good news and bad news for Jeff in fantasy. But
oh, come on, Chase Hannon still alive?
Oh yeah. I just have some good news and bad news.
I saw all those points I got.
Yeah, I just some good news and bad news. No, we'll get to it in a second, but we do have to touch on the Huntsmen have now won 10 straight games. I'm not sure if you saw the tweet from Adirondack, but they did like a pink in the rink night. Do you see those jerseys?
I think I did see you retweet that. Yeah,
they are clean. They are clean.
Yeah.
And they've won 4 of their last 5 points in 5 straight. So they're moving along pretty well. We touched on the Railers and their 27-3 record now. And kind of quietly, Valley has won 4 straight games. So
and the 87s just won 15-3 over the New Jersey Renegades the other day. Holy
5 field goals,
Connell.
5 field goals to 1 field goal. Wow. But unfortunately, that's a great segue, Jeff, because only one 87's EHLP player has been picked in fantasy this month, and maybe that changes minds for next month. So let's jump now to the E-Show Fantasy Challenge.
Now it's time for the E-Show Fantasy Challenge. Follow along on the EHL app. Available now for free on both Apple iOS and Android.
So as we start every fantasy, Jeff, I get to jump back on my soapbox and complain about how I lost a matchup earlier this season in Yahoo Fantasy by 0.1 points. Last week I lose by 1. I lose by 1 freaking point.
Oh, what? He's 8-7, folks. Esho comes 6th place.
Nash, it's okay. The dog was sleeping. I just woke him up. Nash, it's okay. Oh. It's okay. Oh God. And it's like,
hey, you're still in that playoff spot.
No, I know I am, but it's like
sucks. Like me.
I'm gonna enter the postseason as either the 5th or 6th seed, and humbly, like 500 and the best 500 freaking team there is, right? And maybe I'll go on a run then. But God, it's frustrating. It is so frustrating.
I will trade you my entire Meek Mills roster at 3-12. You can happily sit in 11th place if you would like.
Oh my God.
Maybe you can call our friend Jim McCabe and take his 2-13 Cicade Chiefs in 12th. Yeah, things are not good for me either, bud. I quit. No, I don't quit. I will never quit. That's the thing. I'm still making ads, still trying my best. Sibrick is about to pump me this week, 184 to 130 of the projections. He's already almost at 100. I'm at 47.9. So
it's tough.
Chalk up another L.
God,
we have DraftKings deal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jeff, you could quit Yahoo and just go to DraftKings.
We can, and I think I am, and I have. But and we know how hockey games move fast, Neil. But with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner in the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers can bet just $5 in the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Do you have a gambling problem? If so, you can call 1-800-GAMBLER. You can visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY. That is 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. You can call 888-789-7777, or you can visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. You can void that if you live in Ontario. Bonus bets do expire 168 hours after issuance, so see dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights are reserved.
So do you want the good news or the bad news first?
Give me the bad news, and then we'll go out on a high note.
So for those that have been asking, there are times if a player gets injured where you can replace your player, right? And Jeff did that, right? Andrew Van Antwerp got injured, and he replaced him with Chase Hannon. So at the time of the replacement, it washes out what you have for points, and you don't get to gain what that new player already has so far this month, right? But the bad neus is, Jeff, you should have just picked Chase Hannon from the beginning because you'd be in first place. Be winning? Yes. No. So Chase Hannon this month has 25 points. Chase Hannon, since Jeff has added him, has 12 points. Right now, Jeff is at 84.4. Plus the 13-point difference, he would be at 97.4, which would put him in first place. Good news, Jeff. Good news. The month is not over yet.
Yeah, but it's almost there, and that would feel so good to be moving on to the tournament of champions.
And
look at Justin Squitieri in third place too, and Justin Horatio.
So it really,
Justins.
There's a possibility that it comes down to those four at the top right now. Tim Moore, Apple Corps broadcaster, is in first place. Justin Horatio, Apple Corps social media, scorekeeping, wizard that does everything there for them on the side with Lenny, is in second place. Justin Squitieri, our guy, webmaster, graphic design guy who does everything also, is in third place. You're in fourth. Commonalities. 3 of you have Peter Unger. Justin has Luke Golisano. 2 of you have Jack Costable. Justin Horatio has Jim Fitzgerald. You have Chase Hannon. You all have Ryan Kraushaw. So,
damn it.
Here's what's nice about it is you each have one difference. Right?
Yeah.
So there isn't like
that one difference goes off, then
yes. So for Tim Moore, his difference technically compared to Justin Squitieri is the forward position, Luke Golisano. They have the same D and goalie. For Justin Horatio, his difference is the D. For yourself, Jeff, you have the D also. So let's
go Chase Hannon. Let's
have some fun for this for a second. So now we're recording this and dropping it on the 25th, right? So we're gonna go now to the Team Maryland schedule. Oh,
hit me.
I guess it's more bad news. No, there's only one game left. There's only one game left.
Chase Hannon, if you can get me 3 goals, 5 assists.
Well, here's what we'll say, Jeff. They play Monday against the Little Flyers. If he can do what Nathan McKinnon did last night for the Avalanche, 4 goals and an assist, you're in a good spot, right?
Yeah.
Did you see that last night?
Yeah, because I had Mikko Rantanen on my ESPN fantasy hockey team, which is doing very well. I'm fighting for first place in the league, so I actually can do fantasy hockey.
Yes, this is a family-friendly podcast, and this has nothing to do with the EHL because we're talking about the NHL. But McKinnon gets 4 goals, and on the hat trick goal, instead of getting hats thrown on the ice, there were bras thrown on the ice last night. They were like 10 bras thrown on the ice. Dude, wow! I was like,
years.
I was like, okay then. So Chase Hannon, if you pull off that, maybe Jeff will get on down to Iceworks on Monday.
Put my bra at that I don't have. I don't know any bras, but I'll go buy one for you, Chase. I'll buy a couple of nice little lacy numbers and throw them right at you, buddy.
Oh my god! All right, we've lost control.
That's more fun than us. Nobody.
Jim Harbaugh, whichever one's going.
We're starting to talk about lacy bras now on the E-show.
The Apple Corps do have 2 more games left, which is a big reason why a lot of people picked them this month. Just to talk about some of these players now. I mean, Peter Unger's got 38 fantasy points so far. Ryan Kraushaw 34.4. David Basin 31. Jack Costable 24. Cody Walker.
Speaking of trades, Basin pretty good, huh? That was a good trade. Nice job, Chris.
And honestly, the leading
it's pretty good.
The leading fantasy player of the month so far this month is EHLP.
Charlie DiMartino?
Harrison Kramer for the New England Wolves. Yep. He has 9 goals, 8 assists, 4 power play points, a hat trick, and a game winner.
Holy crap.
Yeah, exactly.
What's in the water in Laconia right now? Oh.
And honestly, not far behind him. We've touched on this player before. Aiden O'Connell up to 37 fantasy points. Brooks Wright.
He set up the game winner for Kolovos the other day that we saw the highlight of.
Brooks Wright's got 29. That was awesome that the Railers brought up Wright, Tomchek, and Warner Sané, a full EHLP line for 2 games. And they got 3 out of 4 points in those 2 games. So pretty special there. Cole Davidson, he has 8 goals in January for 32 fantasy points. We mentioned Peter Unger, some other ones that stand out here. Nick Smith, 19 points. You have Hunter Atkinson, 23 points for the Avalanche EHLP team. Defenseman Brock Burrell, he has 5 goals himself in January for 20 points. We mentioned Chase Hannon, Jeff. I mean, that one's going to make you lose sleep at night if you just picked him from the beginning.
Chase, I found you a little too late. He's like, come on, dude. I mean, Andrew Van Antwerp, can you blame me? I mean, Chase, I think might say,
of course.
No, that kid's pretty filthy. I don't mind that.
Yeah. For
Had to get into
goalies,
the month I picked
another
him.
month for Cam Reardon with over 200 saves.
He's good.
Isaac Saljaouge, 32.4 fantasy points so far this month, Jeff. I mean, that's just absurd, right?
That would have been a winner because like nobody picks. I picked him months ago before he got on this heater.
And you pick Crouchshaw though, who has 2 points more, right? So
Yeah.
Sub out
As
Hannon
we've seen, it's who.
sub out Hannon for the full month plus Isaac. You never know. You never know. But
that's all right.
It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, right behind the group that has the Apple Core crew, we could say at the top, we still have, Marc-Andre Dumas and Mike Sanders who have the same picks.
They won't go away. They're right
Basin,
there.
Constable, and Reardon. John Koshiel.
Oh, Greg Bankovitz, I see in 13th. Is that the Bankovitz's father?
I'm gonna guess so.
Papa
right?
Banks?
Yeah, he
Papa
picked
Banks.
He picked only could pick one of the sons though. That's kind of controversial. John Koshiel at 73.8. The top 10 all still have a chance here, right? That's for sure.
Yep.
But it's gonna take a very a big last week here because that's what we're on, Jeff. This is actually for my mind that loves symmetry. It works out so beautifully this first month of the calendar year that 1 week from today, when we record our next podcast, guest to be determined, it's February 1st. So from now until the next podcast, we will find out who wins fantasy. There are exactly 7 days left.
Chase Hannon, get your Chase Hannon jerseys.
Yes. You'll get a custom one if he does this for you. So
yeah, right?
I think that's a great segue though into what to watch for, so we can go over all the games that are going to take place in the final days of January.
And now here's what to watch for in the EHL and the EHLP.
What to watch for is presented by Flow Hockey, the official streaming platform for your EHL and EHLP action throughout the 2023-2024 season.
So to start off today, the 25th that we dropped this podcast, we have an East Division matchup, Express versus Bandits in the EHL, and then the first place team versus the second place team in the North Division, Avalanche versus Spartans.
Mm-hmm.
A big day tomorrow, Jeff. 8 games tomorrow. That's 16 teams in action.
Anywhere but Flow Hockey kids.
Anybody can do that 8 times 2, right? Apple Court play the Rough Riders, Wolves, Rangers, Wizards, Terriers.
Ooh.
Wizards coming off a win over the Railers. Terriers coming off a win over the Rangers.
You got that South Division, 87's Philly.
Huntsman, Little Flyers. Huntsman won 2 straight. Little Flyers 5 straight. Avalanche and Spartans wrap up the home and home. 87's Philly. That's a big one. HC Rhode Island versus Providence is a big one, right? Those are 2 teams battling right now. 1 to be in the playoffs and 2 to host the play-in game if they have to be in the play-in game, right?
Someone's ended a losing streak there, Neil. Providence 0-6 in the last 6. Rhode Island 0-5 in their last 5. 2 teams that were hot at one point recently, but have cooled off.
For sure. Get to the weekend now on Saturday. The first of a 2-game series between Vermont and Valley. That's a huge series. They split recently earlier this month when they were up in Vermont. One of those teams. Valley's
3 points away from getting out of that. Yeah. See you later. No playoff spot.
Yeah. One of those teams is making it. One of those teams isn't, right? So that's a huge series. Express Railers on Saturday night. That's a big matchup. We mentioned Monday. Maryland Little Flyers. Jeff will be locked in on that game. That's for sure. Tuesday, we have Avalanche Rangers. That's always fun. Terriers versus Express. Railers versus Chiefs. Apple Core Rough Riders again. Wednesday, Bears 87. So a big stretch here to end January in the EHL. And then moving over to the EHLP. Just there also. They also have a Rangers versus Avalanche.
Rangers Avs. What do you know?
Let's go Avs. Let's go Avs. Let's go Avs. 87's Little Flyers. Doesn't matter if it's EHL or EHLP. When they get together, there's no love lost, if you will. Never, ever. And then next week, a Seahawks versus Warriors matchup. That could be a playoff preview. As you know, in those 6 teams EHLP divisions, the first round is 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5. So plenty of action still left in January, despite there being just 7 days, Jeff. So, but you know what? I'm gonna text Eric Projan right now. and tell him to get that Chase Hannon jersey ready for you, just in case.
Let's go.
If he can pull off what I said, that 4-goal, 1-assist game, he's going to have like 12 shots now next game because he heard this.
Right. He's just going to hammer it.
I got to do it for Jeff.
Yeah, because he knows me from a hole in the wall. He's just gonna have a stick to the ceiling. Yeah, just watch the tape on Nathan McKinnon, Chase. Just exactly what he did. Just do that, please.
Oh man, too good. But thanks again to Thomas McLarnon for coming on the podcast this week. He's been the NE10 goalie 4 times, right?
Beast.
And it's crazy to think, Jeff, dating back to his first season in the EHL when he was technically the backup for our goalie of the year last year. This is what you can become. Players. Like your role doesn't have to always be your role, right? And he's the starting
star. You can still be found.
Yeah, he's the starting goalie right now for the first place team in his conference. That's pretty special.
Take notes,
right?
Kids. Take notes.
But that'll do it for this week's episode. If you can't make it up to any of the games in person, as always, watch them live on Flow Hockey, and we'll talk to you next week, Jeff.
See you next week, Commish.
Thanks for listening to The E Show, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Learn more about us at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on all of your favorite social media platforms. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when our next podcast episode is released.